This is TWiT.
Sometimes I come on this show and there's very exciting new hardware that's been announced. New computers, new phones. Leo often has a brand new phone that is the latest in his weekly purchases of smartphones. I think he's got a subscription plan. Just every smartphone comes to Leo's house. It's very nice. This week, not that much in the realm of new hardware, but Apple did, with no fanfare really, beyond sort of a press release, release new AirPods. And AirPods, obviously very, very well-liked, the original AirPods. I've got mine here. And this time we got AirPods Pro. How do you make professional Pro, whatever that means, headphones? Well, let me show you what's going on here. So these are new. They're noise canceling. They're in-ear. They've got silicone tips. Let me show for people watching the video. These are the old kind, you know, familiar. They've got the buds with the long stems. This new case, it's wide. It's much wider than the old one. And inside are buds that are larger because they've got the silicone tips, and they've got smaller stems, and they've got a new feature, which is instead of kind of whacking the side of your head in order to go to the next track or the previous track, you actually squeeze a little area on the stem itself, and that's the thing that will advance you forward or back. There's actually a little force-sensitive area, and you squeeze it. And if you squeeze and hold, you can turn on something called transparency mode, which is a pass-through mode, or full-on noise cancellation, as much as any earbuds can be noise canceling because they're not completely covering your ears. So I know that two members of my panel joined me in having a pair of these AirPods Pro. Dan, let's start with you. What are you thinking? You're not wearing them right now. You got the over-ears on right now. How are you feeling about AirPods Pro a few days in?
I do have them here. I'm struggling a little bit, and that's mainly because I'm not a person who likes earbuds or in-ear headphones that much. I usually prefer over-ear headphones, and some of it is struggling with just the fit for me. For whatever reason, my ears don't work great with in-ear headphones. I will say, in my experience in the last few days wearing them, they are the best in-ear headphones I have ever worn in terms of comfort and, you know, in terms of all the other features they offer, especially integration with iOS stuff. But fundamentally, where they fell down for me is still just being silicone-tipped in-ear headphones that I have trouble getting a good seal in one of my ears, and I've tried the whole like switching the different tips which they allow. But I always feel like I'm worried one of them's going to fall out, or I don't have like a really good sound in one ear. And so that's the biggest problem. I really want to love them because all the features that I use, I really kind of are delightful. So for example, you know, the fact that it pauses when you take your earbud out, which obviously the original AirPods did as well. I really like the force sensor. I think it's satisfying haptic style control. And I think the sound is pretty darn good for something that's that small. And these are impressively small, I will have to say, you compared to the stems being much shorter. And I feel like walking around and seeing a lot of people wearing the original AirPods, you know, they're pretty good. They're pretty small, but at the same time, you would sort of notice those long white stems and think, it looks a little dorky, doesn't it? And I think that Apple has improved their design a lot with these. But at the end of the day, I'm just a little worried that like I will not find them comfortable enough to replace the other headphones that I tend to wear all the time. And can I then justify a $250 purchase for something that I'll only be kind of on? So I think that's where I'm struggling. I've worn them a bunch in the last couple of days, walked around town with them, tried them in a coffee shop. The noise canceling stuff is great. I'm really impressed by it. It's not perfect. I would think my QC35 Bose headphones still do a better job on average. But again, for earbuds, they're pretty darn impressive. So I wish I could love them more, but I'm a little stuck on just the sad fact that my ears are broken.
Yeah, you're hearing it wrong, Dan.
Apparently.
Rene, what's your take? You're wearing them right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I have a similar issue with Dan, is that my ears have been grappled into mushy oblivion. And the previous AirPods, the left one would stay in pretty much most of the time, but the right one I always had issues with. These, I can get both of them to stay in. I did the test and it said it was fine on the medium, but they didn't stay in that well. So I switched to the small and they're staying in way better. So that I really like about them. I haven't been a huge fan of noise canceling before. I did have the Bose, the original Bose in-ear, and I've had a variety of over-the-ear. I even had the new Beats Solo Pro on-ear, and I find those just a little bit claustrophobic. Like it shuts out too much of the world, and I just love the the sleekness of AirPods. So this, to me, they have all the convenience. Like, it's just so easy to pair, so easy to switch, so easy to control. All of that from the original AirPods, plus the advantage of noise cancellation when I really want or need it, which is like being on a plane or being on a train, or just, we've had really bad winds, like 106-kilometer-an-hour winds, and it shakes the whole place. It was super noisy, and I put these in, no music, no video, nothing, and it just took all of that out. And it probably wouldn't help me see the cars come flying at the windows, but it did help me sort of relax and get the work done that I needed to. So still no colors, which I think is a bit of a bummer because those were rumored as well. And there's still like one or two other little things. And people who are high-end audiophiles or, golden ears will tell you maybe they don't sound as good as the Sony, or they don't sound as good as the cans that you put over your ears. But I don't have anywhere nearly that quality of hearing. So to me, they're really great.
Yeah, I'm an in-ear headphone guy, so I've never liked the over-ear headphones. And I did actually buy, for various reasons, a pair of Sony noise-canceling headphones last year to wear on various plane rides. And they were fine, but I look at these and I think, if these can get me what I got out of those Sonys, or even close, even if they don't sound as good, even if they don't block out as much sound. One of the things that Apple made a big deal about is that they have a vent system in them so that they're not going to kind of have lead to sort of pressure imbalances, which was my problem with my old in-ear headphones, is that I would take them on flights and the pressure imbalance would give me like headaches and things like that, very bad. And so I'm intrigued by this, and I want to try them out on a plane, quite frankly, but and I regret buying those Sony noise-canceling headphones now, because I really don't like the over-ear headphones. So for me, as somebody who likes sticking these earbuds in your ear canal, it works pretty well for me. Although, again, it's not a custom fit, which I'm actually more accustomed to. It is nice that, although Apple, of course, reinvented the connector, of course they did, it is a connector that presumably will be knocked off by almost everybody. And so if you don't like the 3 different sizes of tips that Apple keeps in the box, includes in the box with the AirPods Pro, you can go out probably within days. If not, then soon. And there will probably be some other options from third parties, because everybody will knock it off. And maybe you can find a perfect fit. But I'm,
do you think there'll be MFI?
Yeah, sure. I don't think there's going to be a licensing program for it. I think you're going to have to seek the gray market. It's really interesting. So, Devindra, I know you haven't had a chance to play with these. It is interesting. They're bringing these in above the existing AirPods, which aren't going away. It costs $50 more than the regular AirPods with the Qi charging case. These are, $250 pair of earbuds. They're not cheap, but at the same time, the AirPods have done incredibly well. So, what do you think is going to happen with these? Are they going to be a hit like that was?
I see a lot of people complaining about that premium. And honestly, I don't think the $200 AirPods, I don't know if we've ever gotten broken down sales, because $40 more than the $160 standard AirPods with the normal case, it doesn't seem worth it for the Qi charging, just because Qi is slow and honestly less convenient. So that never really seemed like a good bet for me. The AirPods were kind of standouts because they were one of the first wireless buds to kind of do that thing well, sound decent, have good reception, not have the pairing issues as others have had. I personally haven't been a huge fan. I feel like talking about weird ears, I think my ears are just so funky because I can't hold any AirPods in my head for too long. If I move my head, if I shake a little, they come flying out. So I'm very happy there's finally another option with silicone tips that will presumably stay in place more. We should talk about some of the competitors, and I feel like you guys mentioned the Sony cans, which I really love. Those are fantastic. But they did also just release earbuds too, the WF-1000XM3s, and those come in at $230. Those things sound like miracle earbuds to me. They sound as good as high quality in-ear buds, and the noise canceling isn't as good as the over the ear version, but it's still pretty good. The only downside is that those are much bigger than the AirPods. They don't look as sleek, but yeah, I think if somebody's really concerned about quality, maybe wants better noise canceling, those seem like a solid option. And those are $230 too. So, Apple's pricing does seem a little much, given that the best competition out there right now is coming in much lower.
I look at that and I think, wow, only $20 more for the Apple product. that shows some restraint on Apple's part. Because usually you got to round up even further when you're looking at the Apple product there. And yeah, in-ear earbuds are never going to be the same as the cans. I think it's interesting to see the competition here. I think it's funny. Apple has done really well with the AirPods, despite I don't think anyone would say that they have the highest quality sound, right? That's never been a thing for them. And it's funny, all of you have mentioned the shape of the ears. Something that Apple mentioned to me when I was talking to them about this that I haven't heard a lot of discussion of. And they didn't go too far down this path, but I read some things into it that I think are interesting, which is that they did, for the original EarPods, which then got turned into the AirPod shape, but they're basically the same as the wired headphones that they made, they had a base of ears that they measured in order to kind of come up with a universal fit, quote unquote, for their earbuds. What they say is that for this product, they went around the world and measured many more ears in order to figure out what the universe of ear sizes and shapes was. And they didn't go much beyond that, but that strikes me as being actually kind of one of these Silicon Valley stories where they measure a bunch of their friends in Silicon Valley and say, we've got it, we've got the universal ear fit. And then they go out and realize that the world is very big and there are many more ear shapes and sizes that they weren't aware of. And that might mean that if you've had Apple Buds that never fit your ears before, maybe these will do a better job, because Apple seems to have understood that their measurements didn't really actually universally fit.
I'm waiting for when they invent some new material that's like the Apple goo on, like molds to the shape of your ears when you put it in, and then wraps around your brainstem.
Yeah, you can never take them out, and you're prone to suggestion.
Why would you want to, Jason? Why would you ever want to take them out?
Just like hitchhikers, Dan. You just put the little creature in, and it does it all for you.
Could be.
That was the Futurama iPod, like the literal iPod in Futurama, right? Like it just like went into your eyes or something. Right. It is funny that Apple is talking about that as some sort of like amazing innovation when like every single freaking headphone company has realized let's put 3 sizes of tips in there. People have different ears, and honestly, some people, I also feel like I have different size tips for each ear too, and a lot of folks don't quite realize that.
Yeah, I struggle with that. I'm kind of in the same boat as Rene, which is like I get a good seal in like one ear, and the other ear is like, nah, it doesn't really matter which size you use. I'm just not going to stay put, and that's so annoying because it's like I'm halfway there, like 50% to getting AirPods Pro, and the other 50%'s like, nah, well, only works in one ear. I only get mono.
That's not as good, and it's very bad for your noise canceling.
Really,
because you've got the other ear just totally open. So what is it? I think it actually turns it off if you have it in one ear. They're like, I'm not going to even try.
I've noticed that
go into
when
accessibility
I lose the connection.
Yeah. No, it's a big step.
Accessibility and put it back on, but I don't know if that would really accomplish.
It's a big step for Apple to let you choose your earbud tip size, and we should say that the small, medium, and large is all in the box, so you can do it, and it's this funny connection system where they're oval shaped, and you snap them on, and you can feel a little snap, and then they attach. So it's not like the headphones you might be used to, where there's sort of a plastic tube, and you kind of push the silicone tip over it. It's a little bit different. Of course, it is. Apple has reinvented the silicone tip for earbuds. Of course, they
revolutionized.
Of course they did. But, it's right before the holiday season. I imagine that they'll sell a lot of them. I think it's kind of funny given that there was that second generation of the original AirPods earlier this year. I know a lot of people who bought that generation who are unlikely to jump into AirPods Pro, but it's hard not to look at the success of the AirPods and think that in the end they're going to sell a lot of these because it's what happened with the last product. People love this product. It does work amazingly well, even though it's not the best sound. And certainly, if you haven't tried wireless earbuds before, as Devindra said, there are a lot of different models out there. But maybe if you're like me and you always despaired because all the great noise canceling was in big, over-ear headphones, you've got options now that don't make your ears sweaty.
I also think Apple deserves a little praise on this for, as opposed to the original iPods or AirPods, they announced a product and it was there the next day. That was cool.
You think maybe they learned their lesson with AirPower?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Power Apple.
Yeah.